and welcome to my 2022 interview series called Women of Global Interest. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you. This is the fourth of 7 interviews that I'm doing this year where I go searching for women around the world who are trailblazers making an important contribution to inspire and empower others, especially other women. Today's guest is Paris real estate consultant, writer, speaker, and TV personality Adrian Leeds, someone that I've come to know personally and to whom I can testify is leading the way for women. And she comes to us today from her apartment in the beautiful Le Marais area of Paris. Hello, Adrian, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Diana, for having me. I feel so privileged.
And look at you all in red with your beret. I love it.
Mais bien sûr, of course.
Well, before I introduce you officially, let's just say hello to Mark, who is producing this segment along with our team in Vancouver. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Diana. How are you?
So, Mark, we're getting some questions, I think, for Adrian today. I think that's pretty likely. So you will be monitoring those questions in the chat and the Q&A sections for any questions. And what we're going to say is, if you want to know specific details about some of the mechanics of the properties we talk to or the actual living in France, we'll ask you to address them directly to Adrian afterwards. We'll give you her information. So we'll keep the questions to sort of, her life, her approach, anything like that. So let me tell you about this remarkable woman. Adrian Leeds moved to Paris in 1994 with her family for really just a one-year stay, and then she never left. Since 2004, she has been the founder of the Adrian Leeds Group, which was the first agency to focus exclusively on expats, so people outside of France, real estate services. And she dominates the marketplace with her special brand of expertise and a very unique approach to helping people realize their dream of living, renting, or investing in France. And as Adrian mentioned to me the first time we met, the number one dream among most expats is either to live or spend time in Paris or France. So count me as one of those people. But Adrian is not only a successful businesswoman, she is also a pillar of the expat community in Paris, bringing it together. She publishes, and I can't believe this, but she publishes 3 online publications every week. She hosts this great event called Après-midi, which means afternoon. It's a coffee gathering where she brings in really incredible guests every month, and it's free of charge to anyone who wishes to attend. I've attended one of those myself, and it was lots of fun. So there is so much more, but let's bring Adrian in now and let her tell you for herself. So Adrian, once again, welcome.
Well, thank you, and I'm already blushing from your introduction. What can I say?
Well, there's so much more too. And I want to go back to your early life. So in studio, they're going to put up a picture, which we got from you. I love these pictures. Here's some great shots.
Oh, no.
Tell us a little bit about your early life, because you were born and raised in New Orleans. Is that correct?
I certainly was. Sin City, as we used to call it.
And then you went to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. And what did you do after that?
Well, I studied fashion design, of all things, and then left there and ended up spending a year in Israel on a kibbutz, where I learned Hebrew and learned how to work in the banana fields and the whatever, which was fascinating. And then I ended up coming back to the States and moving to Knoxville, Tennessee, and getting a job with Levi Strauss, of all things.
And then what did you do with them exactly?
Well, I opened an in-house advertising agency for their chain of retail stores, their chain of outlet stores. And I was kind of thrust into this, literally thrust into it. I didn't know a single thing about advertising, but I had to open an agency and figure it all out, and did that for more than 5 years. And then because of my experience in advertising, ended up opening an advertising and marketing firm on my own years later. And I did that until I moved to France.
Okay, so you went to Paris for a sabbatical, right? Is that what? And then you stayed.
Yeah.
So why did you stay?
Well, I'm going to warn everybody right now, okay, because it is not possible to come here for any length of time and leave. It's just not going to happen.
I'm finding that difficult too.
Once you have moved, created a life, made friends, get into a routine, and discover the amazing lifestyle that you can have here, you really can't turn around and go back because it's life in reverse. Let's face it. I mean, and one of the key things, besides France is a fantastic place, you're in the center of Europe, so you have the ability to travel all over for very little money, very little time, you know, trains, planes, automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really tough to give up because the U.S. is so vast.
We got some pictures of you in your life in Paris too, which we'll put up where you're talking about this. I have a few pictures here.
Oh no. Okay, so, well, okay, Bastille Day, you see that at the Eiffel Tower on the Champ de Mars, which is something I do every single year. And I have a particular spot that is the perfect spot to see the fireworks from. Okay, I've got this figured out. We get there really early, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon to wait for the fireworks at sundown. And then I think there was a photo of me on a bicycle, which is the
motorcycle. It looks like
no, it's a bike. It's a
okay?
That was August 15th, which is the deadest day of the entire year in Paris, and the only day I would venture on a bike. Forget it. Never been on one since. And then the other photo was just trying on berets, you know, in the market.
So when you stayed, I mean, was that was a conscious decision that you were going to live there?
I guess it was conscious. It was just, I had to decide whether, well, we stayed, I was with a husband, okay, and my daughter, and we had a 3-year lease on an apartment. So we ended up staying for those 3 years.
Okay.
And then, but during the 3rd year, my husband and I decided to divorce, and I had to decide whether I was going to stay in Paris or go back to the States. And that was a very tough decision to make. But I just found it emotionally impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Not only emotionally impossible, but financially impossible, because you really need about half the money to live in France that you need in the United States.
Really?
Yeah. Well, okay, so...
Most people would think the opposite.
No, it's called, okay, you need a car, right? Live in Los Angeles, you need a car.
That's true.
AAA will tell you that's $10,000 a year on the average. I needed to put my child into some sort of private school because public school, you know, is not exactly on the same level as French public school. And there were metal detectors to go into public schools. So that wasn't appealing to me, nor do they teach a foreign language until high school. Mm-hmm. So none of that was going to work. But I needed just the cost of rent, insurance, medical insurance. Oh my God. I had free health in France.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that I realized were going to cost me a whole lot of money. So even though I didn't have the ability to legally work in France at the time, so that's a little bit risky or a lot risky, it still was a better decision to stay in France.
Did you, before you started the Leeds Group, and we're going to show some pictures of that too right now, did you do other work before then? Because you started this business in 2004, is that correct?
Yeah, I had the good fortune of working with a web developer to build her client base. And I had to figure out how to actually work and get paid since I couldn't legally work. So I probably shouldn't be admitting to this, but I figured that out and did that for a while. And then I was hired by International Living to open their Paris office. And I worked for them for 3 years. And International Living is really how all of this started, because the readers of International Living wanted someone to help them, you know, find property. So I didn't know how to do that, but I hired somebody who did. And with International Living is when I started all the conferences, and, you know, they gave me the backing to do a lot of things. And then when I left them, I just went lateral and did them all on my own, in effect.
Okay, so tell us why you started this particular business then. It sounds like that led in that naturally to it, but why did you?
Well, it really was. It was really all the things that we were offering through International Living, but in 2004, I ended up realizing that they needed me more than I needed them. And so I left, you know, the comfort of the company to go out on my own and just went lateral. That's all.
And why did you see the need? Were there people who you knew personally that were saying, wow, you've done it. Can I do this too? Can I go and live in France or have a property in France?
No, it really just were people who wanted to somehow buy property. And if they're reading International Living, then they think the people at International Living are the experts on it. And they came to us, and then we were doing conferences here in Europe, in Paris, and then all over the United States. And so we ended up with a pretty big following of Francophiles looking for a way of moving over and needing help to do that. So it really was a natural transition. I joke all the time that I didn't happen to real estate, it happened to me. It kind of landed in my lap, and there I am. So, you punt.
The best jobs always seem to happen that way. And then House Hunters International, you've been doing that. And as I understand, you're probably the most popular guest they've ever had as an agent. Tell us about that too.
Well, I've been doing that since 2006. They found me then, and I've been, clearly doing it ever since. I'm about to film my 50th episode.
Wow.
I'm one of the very few regular agents, so to speak. I think that I've done more episodes than any other agent, although there is another agent in London who rivals me. Richard Blanco is his name. He's an interesting guy. I give him plenty of credit. So, I can share the spotlight. I don't care. But it's been a lot of fun.
Well, and let's talk about your unique approach, because you and I have had lunch at our favorite restaurant where you have lunch every day at the Café Charlot.
Café Charlot.
Yeah. I love it. Oh, gosh, I love it.
I was there today.
I know. I'm sure you were. Like, it is the best. Yeah. But let's talk. You aren't really a traditional real estate agent. As you said to me, it's not about the property so much as realizing the dream. Tell us about that, because I think that's really one of the most fascinating things about the way you approach this business.
Well, okay, so we are a licensed agency, and we can list properties, but I won't list a property that I wouldn't recommend someone buying, because essentially we're really property consultants. Mm-hmm. So people come to us to help them find the property and go through the whole process and hold their hand and provide all the resources, and that's really what we do. I will absolutely tell the truth about a property from beginning to end, because it's all about the buyer, not about the seller. I work for our client, the buyer, and protect them. So I kind of think of us as insurance. We're going to look at all the negatives. If you go to a real estate agent who, especially here, there's no multiple listing service. Right. So the agents only want to sell what they have on their listings. So if you go to that agent, they're going to just tell you the positives about a property. I mean, they will do and say just about anything to make that sale. Some are trustworthy, but let's face it, they're not going to point out all the little things that might go wrong, whereas that's exactly what we do. So we want someone to walk into this with their eyes wide open, and it is definitely not about our pocketbooks. My whole team knows it's about making the client happy and doing the right thing for them, even when they don't know what's right for them.
That's interesting. Well, and a lot of the people that are watching might have seen on Netflix The French Agency, which is all about these this family that sells these luxurious properties.
Right.
Well, and what you've told me though, that's not your approach. Is that like the pied-à-terre? Yeah, no. Tell me about that.
I mean, our clients are not the rich and famous. Our clients are, average North American Francophiles who maybe they only have a little bit of money to spend, but they really want to enrich their lives. And that's what it's about. So we don't care if, someone has a tiny budget or a massive budget. It's really about making their lives richer and for the better, and fulfilling their dream. Mm-hmm. That's what it's really about. And property just happens to be part of that.
So what's the typical person who comes to you?
Wow. Well, we have a lot of typical people, but let's see. They're in general either empty nesters or retirees. So let's say, generally speaking, 50 years old and up. Okay. Not everyone, but mostly. They can be single women, couples, both gay and heterosexual, and they have a lot of things in common. They have France in common. They love France. They are generally very well educated, well traveled, have made a little bit of money, not necessarily a huge sum, but they're comfortable and they have enough where they want to invest in something. And they're usually pretty smart about how they want to invest. I mean, the way money works for them. So what's interesting about that, though, is that when they come here, it's so easy to make a million friends because the expats are so much alike. They have so much in common that it's very easy to meet one another and, you know, like feel like you've known them your whole life and make a million friends. It's great.
No, I can attest to that. Every time I go, I feel like I make another 10 friends. So it's so cool. We're going to look at some properties now. Just to give people a cross section of, because you know you do properties that are for sale, you do rentals, investment in what we're going to call fractionals, but we'll come to that. So I'm going to get Adam to show a couple of slides here, the next couple of slides. This was your own property, right?
I miss it so much. It was a viager, and a viager is a life annuity property similar to a reverse mortgage. And for anyone who doesn't know what this is, they should look up the story about Jeanne Calment, who was the oldest living human. She died at 122.
What?
And it's a great story about how she sold her apartment to her notaire when she was in her 90s, lived to 122, and then of course he and his family ended up paying for the property twice over because she lived so long. But anyway, that was an apartment in my own building that I discovered.
There's another picture of it as well too, I think.
And it took me 5 years to acquire and renovate. It was a tiny studio. I very sadly sold it when the rental laws in Paris cracked down on the short-term rentals. But there is a really lovely American woman living in it now and enjoying it with a terrace and skylights and air conditioning and, you know, all the good stuff.
Okay, so we've got something next too to look at, the next couple of slides. Okay, so this
that's my apartment in Nice.
The one you have now.
The one I have now, I call it Le Matisse. It's decorated in Matissien, as in Henri Matisse style. And it's very happy with all the colors. And it's very tiny. It's 37 and a half square meters, which is about 400 square feet, one bedroom, right on Rue Masséna, which is what I call the parade route. It's a pedestrian street, and it's kind of nutty and touristy, but it's fun.
That's great. And you still have that one in addition to this apartment. How big is the apartment that you're in right now that we can see?
Paris.
Yeah. And and how big is it, Adrian?
70 square meters, which is about 750 square feet. Yeah. So 2 bedrooms. And that's an average size 2 bedroom.
Right. Right.
Now, you know, okay, I came out of the average American humongous house, right? 4,000 square feet. And I've downsized all along the way, and I can tell you that space is highly overrated. You do not need it. It's actually more comfortable to be more intimate. You own less. And we spend a lot more time outside of our apartments than we do in anyway. So it's, you know, I don't regret that either.
No, I can understand that too, because it really is about making it functional and cozy. I want to talk about fractional ownership, because this is something you and I've talked a lot about. And so we've got some pictures of that. And of course, this property we're going to show you, everybody. Unfortunately, I think all the shares have been sold out right now.
We just sold all the shares.
Damn, I had my eye on that one.
Well, I don't blame you, because it's a very unique apartment on the front row in Villefranche-sur-Mer, which is just an absolutely beautiful and charming village. The view is what I call the $1 million view. It's of Cap Ferrat, And you're right on the port in Villefranche. The apartment is a 2-level, 1-bedroom. And yes, so the lower level, you go down a few stairs to the living room and the bedroom, and then the kitchen is on the same level as the terrace. And it has 13 owners, and one of the owners just posted a photograph on Facebook at night from the terrace, and she said, "I just never want to leave this terrace. I just want to be here forever," is what she said. Yeah.
Fractional, though, is not like timeshare. Explain that to us.
Well, the only difference is that you own a share in the property, not just the time. With a timeshare, you own the usage, but not the property.
Right.
So in our case, we sell 13 4-week shares in a property, and then they have a fully rotational calendar, so it's very convenient. And you can learn all about that on our website. We do have a few shares left in our newest one, which is called Le Charles V, and it's in Paris. I don't know if you can actually pull that one up.
Well, we're going to go to your website in a second here.
Yeah, well, if you can. It's under construction right now. It's supposed to be ready the first week of July. We are down to the wire as usual, getting it ready. But it's a 30 square meter, 1-bedroom in the Marais, and a beautiful part of the Marais because it's close to the Seine. And it has lovely rooftop views, lots of light, 3 big windows, and we are doing it to the nines.
Well, and that's another characteristic of what you do, is that you go in and you really make these properties feel luxurious, no matter what the size.
Well, they have to be perfect. I work with the illustrious designer, Martine Di Matteo. She and I are very close friends and colleagues. We've been working together for almost 20 years. She does beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work. I trust her explicitly. And our goal is to make sure that nothing is missing, down to the splatter screen. Do you even know what that is?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Well, when you're frying in a skillet, you
yes.
get one of those splatter screens you put on top. So we just believe that it has to have everything. You walk in, it's home, period.
Wow. Well, let's get Adam in the studio to go to your website now so we can see a few more, because the picture's just stunning. So let's go to properties and for sale.
Well, see if you can go to, the properties. Okay.
Let's look at this one. So this one is currently for sale?
It is. This is it's a lovely apartment. It's owned by an American couple who I've known for many years. They've lived in it a long time. They've made the decision that they're just not spending enough time in it and to sell it. It's located in the 14th arrondissement, which is very French, not touristy at all, but the location's great. And it's a 2-bedroom with 1 independent bathroom and a big, fabulous kitchen. Part of the windows overlook the courtyard, so it's very quiet. But the front room, there's one room on the street that has a really nice balcony and really nice views. And it has not yet sold, but it should quickly because it's really lovely. Yeah.
Oh, and the 14th is actually a nice area. Really nice.
It's for the person who really wants to have a truly Parisian experience.
Yeah. Okay, I think there's another one below that too, just to keep giving it. And so this one we wanted to show because it's so unique and something very special for you as well, isn't it?
It's 3.69 million euros. Wow. It's located on the Quai des États-Unis in Nice, which is opposite Old Town. It's got a view, it's directly on the water. It's, the work that was done to decorate this apartment was literally in the millions is what they spent on it. Wow. It's drop dead perfect. It has under the floor heating. It's fully air conditioned. It's 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. It's to die for.
And this isn't really a normal type of property that you would sell, right?
No, this is not our usual. No, it's
Yeah.
not our usual. No, but it's a very special property.
Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think we have one more, and maybe we'll take some questions then. So we're going to go down now and go over, this is the one I think is adorable. Promenade des Anglais, there it is. But
Oh,
it's
so
sold,
sweet.
bye-bye. It's gone.
So,
Oh, dear.
well, here's the thing. That was a large studio directly on the ground level, pretty, on the west side of Nice, directly on the water, and it was a dump. I mean,
Really? Mm-hmm.
if you can see from these photos, it needed a lot of help. Okay, but we sold it pretty quickly to an American couple and who undertook the renovations. We have a great team in Nice as well. Martine's work is Paris and Nice. We have another team with Laura Poirier in Nice, and she does beautiful work. And if you can pull up some of the pictures, the after pictures.
Mm-hmm, here we go.
There you go. There's the private garden, all outfitted. That's a Murphy bed. So that couch kind of goes away when the bed comes down. Very clever.
Mm-hmm.
All built in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Mm.
Very clever. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And we filmed in that recently for one of the shows.
Does that have the what did you call it, the slip screen or whatever it was in the kitchen? We're talking about keeping the spit screen or whatever.
I didn't outfit that. The owners did. So whether they have a splatter screen or not,
splatter screen. That's what it was. Okay.
No, it's their owners, who enjoy it themselves. So.
Wow. Well, Mark, maybe we should check and see. Have we got any questions from people that might want to ask Adrian something here?
At this point, no questions. I did put a message into the chat to, put out any questions that they have for you.
Well, then let's talk a little bit about your life as a single woman. And a woman of a certain age in Paris, because you know how often I go to Paris now, and I meet so many single women that have moved there, or French women too that live on their own and that kind of thing, and they love it. They think it's the best city in the world for a single woman. Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know if it's the best city in the world, but it's certainly a great place. I think the number one reason it's so great is that it's safe. The ability to be alone and on my own outside just about anywhere in the city at any hour of the day or night without being paranoid is major. If I were living in the U.S., I probably wouldn't go out by myself at night and have to drive home worried about whether I had a flat tire or something like that. It's just not done. Mm-hmm. It's much harder. Okay. You have to be more brave. That's a big deal. The other thing is, of course, older women are respected by the French.
That's so true.
Of all ages.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because they respect themselves. Mm-hmm. So you'll see older women still, completely made up, dressed, done to the nines, right? On the street looking attractive. And it doesn't matter if they're 80 or 90 years old.
It's so true. You see it everywhere. Yeah, it's true. I love that. La Durée, where they go and sit in the afternoon and they have their tea, and you see all of these women who are in their 80s, 90s, Lord knows, maybe 100, sitting with their little dog, and they're all dressed up in Chanel. Okay. It's awesome.
And notice something else. Notice how many French women wear skirts, not pants.
All of them.
Okay, so if I'm in the States and I'm wearing a skirt, which I wear, there's a lot of skirts here, my sister will say, what are you all dressed up for? And I'm going, I'm not dressed up. I'm just in a skirt. Because women know that men like skirts, not pants. Mm-hmm. And so they continue to wear skirts, okay? Mm-hmm. And at every age. And so women tend to just look more attractive, regardless of their age. They don't let themselves go, so to speak. And so it's much more fun to be a woman of a certain age in France than it is in the U.S. That is for sure. There's also, all the idea of the relationships between men and women, which are quite different than they are in the States.
Oh, well, tell us about that. Yeah.
But the other thing is what you mentioned. There are so many really interesting women here to get to know that it doesn't even matter about the men. You can forget the men anyway, because there are enough really interesting women to keep you occupied.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about dating in a minute, but let's get Mark. I think you have some questions now that people are jumping in.
Yes, we do. They're more real estate focused.
That's okay.
And one of the questions we had a couple of them. They want to know if your team covers all areas of France, the south, or other than Nice. And that's
everywhere.
Susan Patterson.
We can work everywhere. We are not limited. I will say, however, that I often encourage our clients to consider the areas where there are international airports, because access to transportation, if you want to travel, is key. And, a lot of our clients come to us with this dream about living in some sweet little village in the middle of France, in the middle of nowhere. And the truth is that's about what they're going to, the middle of nowhere. And it's not going to be as interesting as they think on the long term. A weekend, maybe, but in terms of a real life, if you're retired and you have, and you can travel, then you want to be close to transportation. That's a major plus. So that means Paris, Marseille, Nice.
Marseille too. Interesting.
Oh yeah, Marseille's an international airport.
Interesting.
If you're in Aix, for example, Aix-en-Provence, then you can get to Marseille in 30 minutes. So that is reasonable. But if you're in Narbonne, you have to take a slow train to get somewhere before you're going to do anything. It just makes a huge difference.
What about the north of France? Because it's becoming more popular with tourists, but maybe not as investment.
The north of France has a weather problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's lovely. If you want to eat cheese and cream and apples, go to Normandy, but be prepared to stay wet. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Anything else, Mark?
Yeah, we got another one here from Carol. Carol says, we plan to retire to France in 3 years. I'm confused about apartments for long-term rent. And she's talking about 1 year less, 1 year more. Rentals are always unfurnished, she has in quotes. And then she asks again, does unfurnished mean you have to furnish all your own window coverings, fridge, kitchen, appliance, lighting, all of it?
Very good question, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so there are only 2 types of apartments in France. You cannot write your own lease. There are specific rules and regulations. So a 1-year lease is a furnished apartment, and it could come furnished on many different levels, because the requirement for furnished has a minimal amount of furniture, but it could be a property that had been a short-term rental and equipped even down to the splatter screen, or not. An unfurnished is a 3-year lease, and that definitely means unfurnished. And that means it might not even have the appliances. It might be void of a refrigerator or an oven or a stove. And so that comes on different levels as well. And that is a 3-year lease commitment. Now, wait, that being said, a 1-year lease has a 30-day cancellation on it. And this is really important to know, because the laws benefit the tenant, not the landlord. And on a 3-year lease, normally it's a 90-day cancellation, except in Paris where it's a 30-day cancellation, just to keep properties moving because of their housing shortage.
Well, and it's true too. When you even renting, you sometimes take your appliances with you, right? That's a very unique. Or is that changing?
It has changed with IKEA. IKEA changed the landscape. I know that sounds really crazy, but
but everybody goes to IKEA.
Kitchens,
yeah.
Once you installed an IKEA kitchen, you didn't want to disassemble it. Things were no longer modular. The appliances were, as they say in French, encastrés, meaning, I don't even know the English for that word.
I don't either.
It's totally installed where you don't even see the washer dryer because it's behind a cabinet door, right? So they didn't want to tear the kitchens apart. So that has really changed the landscape of rental apartments, thanks to IKEA.
Cool. Okay.
Well, I spent 22 years at IKEA in my past life, so I know it well. And the one thing that we talked about a lot was their European roots and living in small spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a lot about, maximizing all the space, height, cabinets, keeping things clean. So I can completely relate to what you were saying.
Yeah. Well, when you're living in such small spaces like we do, you really have to make use of every inch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or every centimeter, excuse me. I should be in meters, not in inches.
Do we have one more question?
We do have one more question. I think you might have kind of answered it, but Lynn Sakai asks, first she says, bonjour.
Bonjour.
What are some of the more popular towns, regions that Americans are buying into or renting long-term outside of Paris and Nice?
Yeah, so Marseille is one of them. Yeah.
No, Marseille is definitely not one of them. Marseille is Aix-en-Provence. The Luberon, one of the areas of Provence that I like particularly. There are a lot of Americans there. There's a pretty large community in the town of Uzès, which is in the Occitanie. And there are Americans in other major cities. There's no question. I mean, in Lyon and in Dijon, I mean, you can find them. Bordeaux has become popular. But again, what they will tell you is that they don't have the immediate access that you might have if, when you're in Nice, you have to understand. You're in Nice, you get on the tram.
And you go
the tram
everywhere.
takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You're at the front door of the airport. The airport is simple and easy. It makes going in and out like just a piece of cake. And not long ago, I got on a plane and went to Venice for 70 euros round trip. Fabulous.
Wow.
Fabulous. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, where else do you do that?
Mm-hmm. And there is like literally a train from everywhere in Nice. You can go over to Italy. You can go all along the French Riviera. It's just
oh yeah, the train system's really good. But just being able to fly, even to the other smaller places all over Europe from Nice is really easy. And there are now flights direct from the States.
Awesome. We do have one more question.
Sure.
Sure.
Robin Siegerman asks, are there expat organizations in order to establish a social network if they move to France?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Diana knows the answer to that. Oh, my God. There are tons and tons and tons of organizations, mostly in the bigger areas, of course, where there are more expats. But there's, Democrats abroad and, oh, my God, all sorts of American and international organizations. There's no shortage of that. And then there's other
clubs,
events.
French clubs, social clubs, you name it.
Yeah, like even the American Library in Paris is a great place because they offer evening events, and you go to that, and before you know it, you're meeting 10 people. I run my coffee gathering up in BC, and that's a great place to meet people. It's very, very easy to meet people and make friends. Very.
And Paris is kind of a place where it encourages people to go out all the time. I think that's the other thing about having a smaller apartment is that you go out. You go out to eat. You go out for coffee. You just want to be with people all the time. It really encourages that.
Of course you do. You walk out your door and there's cafes. So why would you stay at home?
Exactly. Okay, before I let you go, though, I got to ask you about dating. Like, dating as a single woman and a woman of a certain age in Paris, is that a doable thing?
It's very doable. I am not the right person to ask that question.
I know, that's why I'm asking you. Because you told me that you would never date a Frenchman.
Well, no, I'm not interested in Frenchmen. That's a whole nother story.
Okay, we'll have you back next year to talk about that.
Well, okay, but you have to understand, Frenchmen don't know what to do with me. Okay. French men and women they play a particular role, okay? And French women don't behave like American women, right? So they can relate to one another, more easily. But a woman like me who's just kind of really out there, I so intimidate them, they wouldn't have a clue what to do.
You were talking about bright colors too, because in Paris we don't see women wearing bright colors. They love beige, they love gray, all those colors. And you go out, and I've seen you, you're always beautifully dressed in lovely, bold colors. So that separates you a little bit.
Yeah, no, I just scare them to death.
So if I may, ladies, we do have a couple more questions. I just want to
let's
throw
go
in
for
one,
it if we have
one
some time.
for
Sure.
you, Adrian. Lulu says, fabulous as always. Watching with Dan. Hugs. So that's a personal one for you.
Okay, wait a minute. That is Lulu Lolo.
Yeah, Lulu Lolo. I even
Lulu
know that.
Lolo is an actress and comedian and performer in New York. She's an amazing, amazing talent. Her husband's also quite a talent, Dan. He's a screenwriter and musician. And she and I share the same fashion sense. So whatever she wears, I would wear. Whatever I wear, she would wear. And we have a mutual admiration society.
Oh, that's wonderful.
All right. So here's a great question, I thought. Or it's a statement from Ella Dyer when you were talking about social networks. She says, here in Nice, we say for every social event you've said yes to, you've said sorry to 2 or 3 other events.
Ah.
Wait.
Question.
Repeat that?
Oh, she says, in Nice, she says, we say for every social event we say yes to, we're saying no to 2 or 3 others.
Because there's so many of them.
Yeah. Ella Dyer, first of all, Ella Dyer is the author of Nice in Nice. Okay.
Yes, I know that.
She's one of my primary staff members. She's an absolutely brilliant search consultant. She's adorable. Okay. She's the host of the Meet the Authors event, which is taking place on June 11th in Nice. And she's right. But she is the queen of social life in Nice, and she's invited to everything, and she's a member of all the organizations, and she's absolutely right. For every one you say yes to, there's 2 others you had to say no to.
Oh, well, these are 2 people that I'm going to connect with afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we've got
a few
one more.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. Does the French government charge surtaxes, fractional ownership to out-of-country purchasers? And that's from Pat, sorry, I don't want to destroy your last name, Bollenberg.
Bollenberg, that's my guy.
Okay, so it's an interesting
good one, Pat.
Because fractional shares are set up legally in a way that a U.S. nonprofit mutual benefit corporation owns the property, and the shares are sold as shares of the U.S. corporation, and they're sold on the U.S. side, and they have nothing to do with France.
And this goes as even you're Canadian or somewhere else?
Well, it doesn't matter who's buying it. Shares are shares in a U.S. corporation.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
it's the only way that you can really do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, with a French system, each of the shares would be in the name of an SCI, which is a French property company. And then every time there would be a change of share ownership, you'd have to pay the transfer taxes and fees again. So it's just complicated, makes no sense.
Oh, wow. Well, that's why they have you to help people guide them.
And this is a very complicated process. It's highly administrative. The average person cannot go do this
by themselves.
You really have to know what you're doing. Yeah.
Well, let's show a few last pictures of you, just the ones that we found to wrap all this up. So, yes, this picture, I love it. It looks like Sophia Loren. Where did you do that?
Oh, thank you. Portrait by Stephen Arnold, 1991.
An artist, obviously, right?
Yes, artist who died in 94, right before I moved here, of AIDS. And he has an exhibition happening on August 11th at the Fahey Klein Gallery in Los Angeles, and I will be there.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, that's timely. Well, let me wrap this up for us, because Adrian, this has just been, thank you so much. Your life, your career, your devotion to the community, not only is inspiring, but energizing and motivating. It's a rare gift.
Diana, can you go back to that we have a few minutes, don't we?
Yeah.
Can you go back to that photo? I just want to show that was taken during confinement when there were no boats on the Seine. And
Look at, there's
no,
nobody
you
there.
will never see the Seine like that ever again. It was a mirror image. It was glass. It was unbelievable. And the only thing paddling around were a few ducks and some swans.
Wow.
It was a very, very special time.
Well, it doesn't look like that now.
No, definitely not. No.
Okay,
no.
well, once again, thank you, for sharing your time with us. I'm sure you'll be hearing from many of us afterwards, so I hope that people will contact you. We're going to leave up a slide with all your information. I want to thank all of you who have signed up for this interview today, especially those of you who haven't done it before, and a special thanks to those of you who have subscribed for my annual subscription to this series. So thank you, Mark, and the team in Vancouver. Have a super summer. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all. This was just delightful.
I'm going to be continuing to write my blog, so will Adrian. We'll have lots of stuff coming out. But I'll see you all back in September, because we're going to have then the Australian award-winning photographer Susie Lang, who has made it her calling to celebrate the beauty of women of certain age. So I always say, if you're cringe when somebody wants to take your photo at our age, you will not want to miss this interview either. And Adrian, I hope you'll join us for that. She's another woman who's blazing a trail. Okay, so everybody, bye for now. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Mark, and to everyone out there.
Yeah, and cue closing slides.